Hello? You play to win the game.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
We're taking receipts, and I can't wait to shove it down everyone's throat when it comes around.
No question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
You know, I was listening to that, and Salah said that he wishes he could take those receipts and shove them down people's throats. I kind of wish he would shove something down Zach Wilson's mouth so he wouldn't speak anymore.
Wow. That's how we're starting off, huh? Just a hot take.
I felt like it was like, and I had that just randomly came to me, but I think Zach Wilson's playing so poorly that what he's saying is just adding to it. But I guess we'll save that for a bit, right? We're going to talk about it a little bit.
Well, before you jump
for joining us on episode number 12.
There you go.
Battered Jets fans. I am here. I am Daniel Granada, and here with my co-host, Mr. Manny Palacios, Mr. Bearded Fanatic himself. How you doing, Manny?
I'm doing amazing, man. But I got to tell you, if this show, episode 12, is a shit show and it's our least viewed episode, I'm not taking any of the blame for it. It is solely on you and not on me. Just wanted to throw that out there now.
I'm not sure why that would be. Would it be because you don't like our guest?
No, I was going to say because I want to take the Zach Wilson persona and just nothing is my fault. Nothing is my fault at all.
All right.
Okay.
Well, we do have a guest. We have a very special guest. We do. Harrison Glazer. I hope I pronounced that right. Harrison Glazer. He is the owner and CEO of Take Flight Media. Spitting Hard Facts is the name of the podcast that he does on Mondays at 7:00 live. I hope I got that right. It's wordy, but I think I got it. Did I get it, Harrison?
It was close. It's all good. Okay. It's basically like, and I appreciate being here with you guys, man. I'm excited. Even in a situation right now, it's of course, man. Of course, it's always fun to talk about them Jets, but it's tough right now. I mean, like you said, like I talked about it on. I mean, well, and that's the thing. Like it's a good point to talk about because, like,
right.
I feel like, I actually put a takeout on this just earlier on my show. And for the name of, I'll come back to it.
Drop it.
Yeah, I was gonna tell you to come back and make sure you drop it correctly because I don't want to.
Yeah, no doubt. It is wordy. It's the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. It's a mouthful.
There you go.
It's a mouthful.
Make sure you go watch, like, and subscribe.
But you're right, man. I mean, the Jets itself, everything feels great. And we kind of had that. We saw that in the New England week. And I felt differently, like back in the first New England week where it seems like the Patriots just absolutely have our number. Like Belichick, he's got it. He knows Zach like better than he knows himself. It's crazy. But you go back to that week, everyone was saying, they were pissed with the mistakes he made. We have a team that's ready to win. We have a playoff team that's missing a quarterback. My take at the time was, and I felt like, people weren't realizing, like, just because the team got great around him didn't necessarily mean he would automatically become great. Like, we just kind of assumed that. And then we were like, oh shit, he's a young kid. Like, he's going to make mistakes even with a good team around him. But this last Sunday, anyone who knows me knows I've been the biggest Zach Wilson supporter. I've been the biggest fan of this kid. But what he did Sunday,
don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Dude. I can't. Whatever you want to talk about, because it was bad, bro. It was awful.
It was bad, and I guess we're not going to get into the post game just yet. But 3 weeks ago, when he first played New England, we had an issue we lost because of him. Like, it's clear as day because of those 3 turnovers, we lost the game. And me and Manny came on the show, and we kind of called him out for not taking accountability.
Right.
But Manny tried to be devil's advocate. He said, he's just showing confidence. He's young. And I tried my best to be, understanding. That's true. He's going to get it from the media. He's emotional right after the game. That's fine. And then he comes out, beats Buffalo. Again, not necessarily because of him, but he didn't lose the game. Bye week. Then he comes back right before this game happens, a day or two before. And then he hits everybody with nobody outside this building knows what they're talking about. All right, you're sounding a little arrogant now, but that's cool. Just back it up on Sunday. He didn't back it up on Sunday. He really didn't. Now, before we get into it,
right?
What did you take, Manny, out of this game? Because I like talking to Manny. Manny is a Dolphin fan, and I like having Manny on this show because he kind of has an outside perspective. So I appreciate you and the perspective you bring. So tell me, what did you get out of this game on Sunday? Because I know you watched it from bitter beginning to bitter end, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry you did that.
By the way, I appreciate that you set it up that way, but what I appreciate more is a text message you sent me well into the third quarter. And you said, damn it, that this is the game where Dolphins have a bye, and this is the game that they have to watch. Because what a boring defensive game this was. So let's do the first topic. The first thing you and I discussed last week of what were going to be the keys to the game, I said you guys have a stout playoff defense. That was proven right. That's exactly what I saw for 4 full quarters. Not even the punt return, because the punt return wasn't on your defense. Your defense played lights out. The second thing we talked about, that the only key factor the Patriots had was who? Bill Belichick. He decided to show up his ugly face again and just get inside Zach Wilson's head and call it what you want. People are trying to say, oh, maybe it was the offensive play calling. They weren't getting created. The guy was missing wide open passes. That's what I noticed from watching the game as an outside perspective. There were so many bad plays that even what I said that I enjoyed about Zach Wilson leading up to this game, I said outside of the Patriots game, leading up to this game, he wasn't making stupid passes. When he had to run, he would run for it, and he would take the safe throw. All that went out the window this damn game. And those are just a little bit of my views this past game. We'll get into Zach in a moment, but Harrison, I'm passing off the baton to you. When you watched it, it was 4 brutal quarters, especially for a Jets fan. But what was your ultimate take? Like, were you trying to take positives away from the game and not being able to pull anything besides the defense?
So, I mean, it was clear as day, and like Zach, kind of said the opposite after the game, and like you mentioned, the performance itself is one thing, but the statements after the game are what were worse to me. It was so much worse to me because, like mentioned it earlier, I've been, if you go back, people have, like Rasala said, check the receipts, right? Always with the receipts, right? I was back in December of 2020, 2021. Like, I loved this kid. Like, I was a huge Zach Wilson fan. I love what I saw in him, love the potential. I was like, this kid has what it takes. This last game was massively alarming, and I've always been the one. You see me on Twitter supporting him, saying he's a young kid. He's learning, because you expect that, right? There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs for a rookie kid, but you expect the downs to get better. You expect progress. I was joking about it before. Like, there's not a bad enough word to describe his performance in that game. Like, if he would have done that as a rookie playing in his first game, we would have still ripped his ass apart, being like, you don't deserve to be in the NFL. Like, there's the numbers, and I've talked about them for a few days now, and even thinking about them now, it makes me nauseous to my stomach. Thinking about the numbers of that game, like just certain statistics. So you mentioned positive things.
That we had more punts than completions.
That was literally the thing I mentioned. I put it out on Twitter. I don't know if you saw it. That was my biggest one. I said it on my show as well. That it's crazy that we literally had more punts than Zach Wilson had completions. We had 7 total yards in the whole second half. Zach Wilson completed like 2 catches for like 14 yards.
Yeah.
And, Manny, like you pointed out, literally missing wide open receivers. And all the things I loved about Zach Wilson in college, the things I loved at BYU, the reasons I was like, I think this kid can be great. I saw them last year.
BYU?
I watched him tour when I actually do a lot of, people that follow me know I do a lot of private eval. Unfortunately, with my my new job, I don't have as much time as I used to, but I used to have more time in my hand, and I used to do a lot of my own eval, my own takes. Actually, Bryce Huff was one of the gems I found. Like, he's a huge, he follows me on Twitter. I've had him on my show a couple of times. He's a guy that I felt should have been drafted. I watched him back at Memphis. I was like, this kid is a top edge rusher. But I started looking at the quarterbacks, and I fell for Zach. I immediately, back when everyone was saying it was Fields, you remember for the longest time it was Fields. I was the guy saying, I don't get what people don't see. It's Zach Wilson. Like, Zach Wilson is even closer to Trevor Lawrence than people realize. Like, I was all over this kid, but all those things I love, like, there's so many of them, but all the things I loved, he's doing worse as the season's going on. He's literally regressing. I'm not seeing them anymore. So, like you mentioned, Manny, like those missed throws, blatant missed throws, guys 5-10 yards away from him. He was doing that last year, but if you watched him at BYU, that wasn't a problem of his. His
Right.
accuracy was amazing. And I was saying that. I was like, I watched him a lot. He was a very accurate quarterback. He could easily go off script, follow the pocket, and find a receiver. He was always accurate. I figured it out to be something with them changing his footwork, working on his timing, changing his progressions. But it's happening now. Like, this is, again, there's not bad enough words to describe this. It was awful. It was an absolutely atrocious performance.
Danny, before you jump in here, I thought the funniest stat line, so you could take it off from here, was the fact that
the 2 inches
the 2 inches per play or whatever it was.
per snap. Yeah.
That blew my mind away. I'm like, this has to be somebody trolling. And then when you go back and look,
Of course, it's a stupid.
the math was right. The math was right. Go ahead, Danny.
The math is right, but it's a stupid stat.
It is a stupid stat, but it was horrible. Go ahead.
But a more important stat, Zach averaged 3.5 yards per throw. That is like I figured the win was a factor. Right, like, if the game started, I was like, the win's a factor, but you saw what Mac
wasn't
Jones
a factor for Mac Jones.
That's
and Mac
exactly,
Jones and he doesn't have the arm that Zach Wilson has.
Correct.
Thank you. Exactly.
Lead it off, Danny.
So,
what you got for us when you were watching this game besides being pissed off at the top of your mind?
Well, obviously it was bad. I thought that we would still pull out the win somehow, even late in the game. What I was expecting, honestly, I was texting one of my friends, and he was like, "All right, so when do we pull Zach?" And I was like, "We're not gonna pull Zach." And he was telling me this like early in the third quarter. I was like, "We're not, even though he's playing horribly, we're not gonna pull Zach." Once it got down to that last drive in the fourth quarter, where it was like a couple minutes left, and we had the ball. And we're like, you know what? We could probably get one decent drive and score a field goal and win the game. I thought to myself, now's the time to pull Zach. I honestly believe, and I could be 100% wrong, but I honestly believe that if Joe Flacco is the backup, he gets put in. You put him in for a drive. Why not? Well, how many times did they do that with Tua and Fitzpatrick?
A lot.
They did that all the time. And next week, what happened? Tua was starting again. It doesn't mean that Zach Wilson lost his job. Zach just didn't have it on Sunday. It was apparent. Put somebody else out there. All we need is one drive. Literally, one drive would have won us that game. That's where I was disappointed with the coaching staff. I thought that they should have pulled him once it got late into the fourth quarter, and he still wasn't producing. I thought that I don't want to say it's unfair to him, but the last couple games, yes, he hasn't played well. And I think it's apparent that he's not necessarily a Pro Bowl quarterback, but he's played against some of the top defenses. Since he came back, he's played some of the top defenses. And I don't want to say that's an excuse because you should still hit those open receivers. But, man, it's rough when you're going out there and you're playing against – he came back against the Steelers. He played
pretty solid defense.
Decent.
Yeah.
No, they last in the league against the pass, though. Yeah. And he played decent. He won that game for us.
Right.
The Dolphins have a shitty defense. We put up 40 points on them. Then we got the Packers.
It's going to be okay, man.
Yeah.
The Packers, fifth. The Broncos, third. The Patriots, fourth. These are all the rankings for the passing defenses. They're all ranked top 5. Of course he's going to struggle. Now, when you're not a great quarterback, the struggle is going to look even worse. I think that if he wouldn't have been such a douche post game, people would have still been upset about it and been like, I don't know if he's got it. But I feel like the fan base turned on him once he came out so douchey in that post game. Once you see that the defense plays their ass off, they basically win that game for you. All you have to do is score one more field goal. And you come out and you say, nah, I didn't let the defense down.
Wow.
You have to be accountable. We were saying this 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
After the first Patriots game, it hasn't changed. And people are like, oh, but he's young. I work at a high school. I see high school athletes. When you ask them certain questions, they know how to answer it because they're not douchebags. Even if you don't think it's your fault, most people know, and they have the self-awareness to be like, you know what? I think it wasn't my fault. But I know that as a leader, I should say it's my fault. Justin Hardy, special teams. He plays what? Oh, I mean, this week he played a lot because we punted like crazy. But he doesn't play that often. And he's like, put the game on my back. No, you don't have to put the game on your back. But he's like, but I'm a captain, so I need to put that on my back. It's ridiculous. Now, I will tell you, and I was going to go into this next. I'm not a fan of the way his teammates talked after the game or the whole liking the tweets and stuff. I don't think that helps. Harrison, what did you think about what Garrett Wilson said after the game and all that other stuff? Because I have my, what I think about it, but I kind of want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm really glad you asked. As you probably know, on Twitter, I put all the media stuff out. I cover the Jets. I call myself like an offbeat reporter. Like I do my own thing, and I got my independent reporting that I do, which is I love doing it. But yeah, I put out Garrett Wilson's comments, put out all the things he said. But if I can quick just go back to, like you said, with Zach and what Zach said, covering him last year, I was loving all the things he was saying. Like, he is a confident guy, and you want a confident guy as your quarterback. Like, he was saying things like you were saying before, that I don't care what anyone in the organization, outside the organization, thinks. Doesn't matter. You do want to hear that. Like, same thing like in the Patriots game. He kept making mistakes because he kept trying. He wasn't getting wavered. He wasn't questioning, can I still do this? When he gets the skill level and he's there, that's something you want. When it's not there, it's painful to watch. But that's something you want. However, this is a major turn. This is lack of accountability. This is something like, wait a minute, like even Josh Allen, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He didn't have to eat that crow, but he did. He was like, the quarterback play was shit. It was bad when they lost to the Jets. He did that. Zach, like Connor Hughes, I want to say softball, but it's not even softball. It's like he put it on the tee for him. And he was like, okay, Zachy, just get ready and you got this. Like, did the offense let the defense down? And he's just like, no. And just crazy to me. Like,
none of us are professional athletes.
Yeah.
Harrison, I don't know if you played any college ball or anything, but we're not professional athletes. If somebody puts a mic in front of you and you're in that situation, would you know? I know what to say. Do you know what to say? It's fucking obvious what to say.
And if you look at the guys who don't know what to say, even the guys that don't know what to say, they're even the great ones. Antonio Brown, they're not around anymore. It doesn't matter how great they are. The guys that say the wrong things. You're a big Net fan. I am myself. Kyrie Irving loves to open his mouth and say the wrong thing.
But you know what? But he never says. But when it comes to talking about the team, he'll take accountability.
Right.
Now, other
that
stuff,
is true.
other
That
stuff,
is
you
true.
know,
Yeah.
We don't talk about that. We don't
want to talk about the other stuff. But when it comes to on the court, he'll say, "I support Ben Simmons." Give him some time. He was telling the media to get off of Ben Simmons' back early in the he knows what to say. Like, I feel like I think they should have somebody in PR that works with these guys, right? I would assume.
You would assume so.
They do.
I would assume
they're totally coached before they come out. And
so
say anything.
That just goes to show how much more of a douchebag he is. That he is coached on what to say and what not to say, and then he's like, "Nope, not my fault."
Probably maybe not after games. That's what I would say. Like, after game pressers are pretty quick. The other ones, he talks to people. That one's more. And we saw that with Garrett Wilson. You pointed that out. Emotions run hot. These guys are human beings, and emotions run hot. They're like Garrett Wilson said a ton of shit. And it wasn't unwarranted. But it's like,
I liked everything he said, by the way. As an outside perspective, I liked everything he said. But that's my 2 cents on that one.
No, I don't disagree. And the point is, as an emerging superstar, as a rookie, if that kind of player is opening his mouth, then we have a problem. And if you think about it, it's like, wait a minute, let's look at that wide receiver room for a second. Right? Denzel Mims wanted to trade earlier in the year. Elijah Moore wanted to trade. He did it in a much more douchebaggery way. Yes. But he wanted to trade. There seems to be a problem here. That tells me it's got to be either the quarterback play or maybe Mike LaFleur, potentially, if the wide receivers are having issues.
Well, Elijah Moore, we know it's because he wasn't getting any targets, and Mims wasn't getting on the field. So, I mean, those I thought were pretty apparent. The reason I didn't like what Garrett Wilson said,
tell me,
like you said, he's a rookie. He's had a couple of good games. I get it. That's fine.
A couple?
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, a couple. That's it. How many? 3, 4? That's a couple. So he's had a couple of good games. You don't come out and say the offensive coordinator or the team needs to trust our receivers. Relax, my guy. Like, we got it. You're gonna get the ball, but don't come out and say that to them privately. Don't say it out in the media. I didn't like that. I thought it was stupid. It adds fuel to the fire. It's unnecessary. And then with JFM, I always get John Frank. JFM. Like when he comes out, he liked the tweet, and then Sauce come out and I didn't mean to. Come on, you really did.
Come on, son. Come on.
And what I really didn't like, and then what I really didn't like about JFM liking it, you know what I didn't like about it? He's cost us 2 games himself. He cost us that Patriot game.
Good point.
Yeah, Zach Wilson technically cost us that game, but we all said we win if we get that pick 6. And JFM's coming on here and liking those type of quotes. Like, my guy, come on. Like, you yourself cost us the game. And Zach Wilson wasn't going out and being like, yeah, you know, I threw those 3 picks, but did you see that flag? No, he wasn't saying anything like that. I'm not defending Zach Wilson, but I'm saying, like, these are unnecessary things. Social media is fucking the devil because just a like sets off such a
Twitter
frenzy with the fan base. Yeah. But I really wish that they would just keep things in-house. I know that it's not possible. And if somebody was going to speak up, I wish it would have been like a veteran guy like CJ Mosley. I don't like that Garrett Wilson felt like he could, like, yeah, I get you look you're going to be a good player. But you're like 6 or 8 games into your career. Like relax. That's what
I personally liked it, Danny, and the reason I liked it was because Garrett Wilson has shown that he's going to be special. He has shown you I have the capability of being special. Zach Wilson hasn't shown you that at all. So for him to take no blame, or I don't want to say he didn't take any blame, for him to say, did you let the defense down, and him say no, that was the bigger red flag for me, not what Garrett Wilson had to say.
But what Garrett Wilson said, he wasn't addressing what Zach Wilson said.
Correct.
He was just saying, like, yo, give us a chance. Like, we get it. Everybody gets it. You know what he did? Right? He did what Elijah Moore did. Elijah Moore's like, I need more targets. That's basically what Garrett Wilson said. It's just that because Garrett Wilson's been playing well, we were like, well, you know, it's Garrett Wilson.
If I could just jump in quick, I kind of actually a little different. I kind of agree. It's a little of both. Like, I'm not thrilled with what he said, but he didn't say anything terrible. He just kind of spoke his mind. Like, he didn't say like, trade me. I don't want to be here. Like, this is bullshit. And and at the same time, though, like, I think he was just frustrated. You know, emotions fly. It's the end of the game. It was a bad game. Like, he didn't really have. He had 3 targets the whole game. There were barely any balls thrown anywhere, and if they weren't accurately thrown. They weren't near the receiver. So I think he was frustrated. But you mentioned the comments he made. The biggest one, which I wanted to ask you guys about, was the one that caught my mind was when he says it starts in practice. It's got to be better. Things we see and don't call out. Shit's got to start getting called out.
For me, that was
the one for me where I was like, okay, wait a minute, like, you're upset, you're venting, but now that's a fact. Like, you're saying there's things happening in practice that shouldn't be happening and aren't getting called out.
That has to
now
be
that's where I'm now. Like, now I want more. What are you referring to, Zach? You know what I mean? Like, who are you referring to?
And
is
that's
Zach
why
making mistakes and the coaching staff isn't doing? I don't know.
Right. And that's why I didn't have a problem with it, because that exact comment, I'm like, this is directed at that douche. I'm like, I bet you when he's at practice, he's also sailing the ball 80 yards above Braxton Berrios' head. So it's like, this guy, I agree, needs to be called out. Like, somebody right after that press conference, I don't know if anybody did it. Maybe Salah. I think Salah is the best person to do that. Needs to pull that 21-year-old, 22-year-old off to the side and be like, you're fucking up. And not just on the field. Now you're fucking up in the press as well.
Well, I will tell you that Rich Cimini came out and he reported that they had a team meeting and Zach Wilson was called out in the team meeting.
Good.
So it was addressed. I don't know by who. I don't know if it was by the coach or by other players, but that did go down. And he was called out. He didn't report what was said or anything like that, but it was addressed. And I also think I don't think that and I know we're gonna get into it in a little bit.
Yeah.
Just real quick, I don't think that Zach Wilson is gonna get benched for this Sunday. I think that was more Salah telling his, like, the rest of the team, like, I get it. If he keeps playing like shit, I got your back. I want to win. We're not just here to, like, groom him and see him improve. Like, I need to put it out there. Like, I'm not committed, but not because he's not gonna start on Sunday, but just because I need to send that message out, like, don't worry about it, guys. I'm holding him accountable, even if he doesn't hold himself accountable. If he plays like shit, he's not going to be starting because we need to win. And I think that's what it was. But before we get into that,
yeah.
All right. But just before we get into that, we lost. We're 6-4. It sucks because I remember last episode I was like, hey, if the Ravens and the Chiefs lose and we win, we're in first place in the AFC overall. And we lost this game, and somehow we went from that possibility to we're literally out of the playoffs right now. So I was kind of wondering, Harrison, does this change your outlook on the season?
If you don't mind, because what you just asked, actually, and that's my take on it, it actually applies to the Zach Wilson thing.
Go for it.
My
Go
opinion.
for it.
Go for
It
it. Yeah.
applies
for
to
it.
that. So this is how I look at it, and I think most Jet fans would agree here. And I thought about this. If the Jets had, and I don't even want to think about this because we're doing well right now, but if the Jets had a losing record, if there was
Right.
no possibility of making the playoffs, I don't think they would even consider benching Zach Wilson. And that's not because he didn't play atrociously. He played atrociously, but that's because there's no way to win. So we have to see what we have in him. We have to see him develop. Can he be the guy? Can he fix the bag? Can he turn it around? Like you just said, his atrocious play blinded us because we couldn't stop thinking about that. It blinded us to the fact where, yeah, that's the point. If he had played better, we would have been like, okay, wait a minute. We're 6-4. We're right at the top of the bubble. We're the first team out right now. And we're at the point where not only could we get back in the wild card, there's 7 games left. Mathematically, we could still take back the AFC East. Mathematically, it's still possible for us to have first place. So
the Dolphins suck, so they're going to start losing soon.
Listen, we've been very honest throughout the show for 12 episodes. Don't start ruining by saying blasphemous things, all right?
I'm sorry. I have to take my shots when I get them.
But,
all right,
but here's my thing, though. No worries, of course. But my thing is, like I'm saying, is I think that's what Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas met about. They met multiple times, probably twice, I would say, since the game Sunday before he spoke Monday. That's what they talked about. This is a team that's ready to win. We said it ourselves. This team is a playoff-ready team minus the quarterback. So Zach could play, right? He didn't say he won't play. He's basically just saying this is a team that can make the playoffs. We need to take a step back and evaluate everything so we could put the best product on the field to make those playoffs. And that's what we want. As fans, that's what we want. We want to make the playoffs. We want to win. So like you kind of mentioned, earlier, if Zach gets benched, that doesn't mean he's not going to be the guy down the road. And I think if, we had a losing record, it wouldn't be an option. It's because we're again, right. We're the top team in the bubble right now. Easily 1-2 more games, we're back in the playoffs. We swing these next 7 games right, we can be the top team in the AFC East. So I think that's what it is. They're saying it could be Zach, it could not be. We want to evaluate everything so that we can put the best product on the field to win the next 7 games.
Full transparency, Manny kept suggesting today that we talk about the draft. I wanted to go through the phone and punch him in the mouth. Like, we're 6-4. Like, maybe if this was the last couple seasons, but we're not talking fucking draft. I'm not talking about QBs that I want to draft just yet.
I didn't want to talk about any of that. I didn't want to talk about any of that. That's where he's wrong. What I wanted to bring up, and we don't have to talk about it, what I wanted to bring up is it even worth even looking at the draft for a quarterback?
No!
That's my point. Instead of just bringing somebody, and I'm not saying names like Jimmy G, I'm just saying instead of bringing somebody who could probably run your offense much better than what Zach Wilson's currently running the offense. That was going to be my point about the whole draft.
Look, I've seen so many fucking photoshops of Lamar Jackson and Jimmy G.
If I could adjust Manny's things, I think there's a reason I think Jet fans feel that way. If you think about it,
I'm tired of seeing that shit. Unless they can come this season, I don't want to see any of that shit.
No, and that's
until
the
the
point.
season's over.
Right when Robert Saleh said to me, it was like when they asked him, "Is Mike White the guy?" He's like, "Hey, we're evaluating everything. We haven't made a decision yet." That's when my mind went, "Oh my god, a trade, but it's not possible."
Of course.
That's when I come back to reality. I'm like, "Oh wait, the deadline came and passed."
Yeah.
Like we can't do that. So that being the case, you guys were talking about next year as Jet fans. We have not had the best luck drafting quarterbacks. Like we just have to call a spade a spade. I mean, it is what it is. That being the case, I look at the Broncos. They, like us right now, had the best defense in football. They had a team that was ready to win. They inputted Peyton Manning. They won the Super Bowl. So I think that's how Jet fans might be looking at it. Hey, this is a team that's ready except the quarterback.
I'm not a Jet fan,
Let's
by the
get
way.
a finished product. Let's get a quarterback. Why roll the dice?
And not just that. It's for the last 10 years, I feel like my Halloween tradition, before I go to trick or treat, I go to the fucking NFL mock draft to see what how things are lining up for next season. Like, it's about to be Thanksgiving. We're 6-4. Let me fucking enjoy this season. I don't want to think about next year. I don't want to think about next year. I don't want to see Lamar Jackson. I don't want to see Jimmy G. Yeah, maybe it's nice if we end up getting him in the future, but that's not a possibility this season. We still have 7 games to go. We're literally 1 seed out of the playoffs. So let me fucking enjoy this.
Yeah,
bro. Hot take: Lamar's not going anywhere.
I don't think he is
Lamar
either.
going anywhere.
And I'm not gonna lie to you. I wouldn't want him anyway. What are you gonna say, Manny?
I love Lamar Jackson.
I was gonna say
I can't stand that guy.
I read a tweet from this guy that kind of talks about what we're talking about right now. I don't know. You may know him. He put, because Zach Wilson was so horrible and took no accountability, distracted us from the fact that with 7 games left, we're just outside the playoffs. That's why Saleh is digging into the film and everything is on the table. He gets it. It's about winning now, whatever it takes. I think that was you, Harrison. I could be wrong, but
Oh,
Nope,
thank
that
God
was
you
me.
said that. 'Cause I was about to say that guy's a douche.
my point when I read that is, Danny, this leads directly to you. My question to you after reading that tweet, and I agree with that tweet. You guys are just on the cusp. One of your biggest fears about losing this game was the fact that you have some tough road games coming up. So now, before we move on and we start talking Bears, the question ultimately goes back to you. I get that everything's on the table. I get that Saleh knows that he has a winning team. But if you had some fear about losing this game before, that bar has to be a whole lot higher now.
Want me to give you a hot take real quick?
Yeah,
If
for
we
sure.
lose to the Bears, we're not making the playoffs. That's how I feel. I feel like if we lose to the Bears, we're not making the playoffs. I know that we beat the Bills, and I know that our defense is good enough to keep us in any game, I honestly think.
Yes.
That's a
But
fact.
if we can't beat the Bears,
That Bears.
which they have like 3 wins, and outside of Justin Fields running all over the field, which, by the way, he might not even play because he dislocated his left shoulder. So he might not even play. If we cannot beat the Bears at home, I don't think we make the playoffs. I don't.
Wow.
Not
So,
only because
for
not
you
only
people
because
listening-
of the mathematics,
Yeah.
but could you imagine that locker room after another shitty game by
it
Zach
implodes
Wilson
on
and
itself.
that we lose to
And
the
implodes on
Bears?
itself. Yeah.
All of a sudden we take a nosedive. You see that battered Jets fans logo? I don't know if anybody's noticed, but it's not horizontal. I have it at a slope
Am I
going
pointing
down
at
a
it?
little bit.
Yeah. You're
Right,
pointing
yes.
at it.
Because this is what I usually expect, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't fly straight. Like we're usually on the down tilt going
I
down.
didn't even realize that until you pointed that out.
It's
I was like,
purposely
oh
done
shit, that
way.
plane's not straight.
And that answers your question, Jets fans, Jets listeners. Danny's outlook for sure is changing drastically by the moment. But Danny,
No. Real quick, just to be clear, my outlook all year was by Christmas Day, I wanted to be
be in the
playing
hunt.
meaningful football. Yeah, I
Right.
want to be in the hunt. I want to play meaningful football. Is it going to be disappointing because I felt like we were in the driver's seat at one point?
right.
100%. But all I wanted out of the season was to be enjoyable and to have a chance late into the season.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it would be really disappointing because our defenses ended up being a lot better than even I expected. I thought
Correct.
top 15. It ended up being top 10. And because our weapons ended up being really good outside of Zach Wilson. So obviously it would be disappointing, but I'm still hoping for just meaningful football and a chance that last week of the season.
I appreciate that. But let's talk because you guys have already started talking about the Bears. Let's preview this game. You already said it. You personally think Zach Wilson will start this game, Harrison. So, Danny, I'll come to you. Do you think there's any chance come
Well, I don't
Sunday-
know if he'll start the game.
Right.
I said that he's going to start.
Oh, you feel like he's going to start. Okay, so then I'll go to
Yeah.
Harrison. Harrison, do you think there's any chance that you do not see Zach Wilson as a starting quarterback this Sunday?
Well, I think what's interesting is if the Jets had a quarterback like Teddy Bridgewater as a backup, I think
Yeah.
Robert Saleh would have committed to him on Monday. Like that would have been it. Like that's it. I think the issue is the reason he's like, it could be Zach, it may not be Zach, it could be Mike White, it could be Joe.
Right.
It's because it's not just that Zach was so bad. Our other options, let's be honest, are not that great. Like people point
Fair.
out that Joe Flacco had good games, but I do remind everybody we were calling for Joe Flacco to be benched at one point.
Yep.
He was getting the sack, literally the crap sacked out of him because he can't move. He's a statue back there, and we were calling for him to be benched. And then Mike White has that one amazing game, which was amazing. I mean, it's a Jet history game, but after that, not so much. After that, I mean, it's okay quarterback play, and I guess that's what we're kind of looking at. Like you said, our defense kept us in a game where Zach was like, there's no word to describe it. That being the case, if Mike White can play okay-ish, maybe we win. I don't know if that's the logic,
I'm going to
but
put
I think
this
the
out
problem is
there.
there's no good option. Like it's not
I'm
like
gonna put
there's
this-
someone to immediately turn to.
Let me put this out there before you keep going. Joe Flacco played 3 games. Zach Wilson's played like 7, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Flacco still has thrown for more touchdowns than Zach Wilson has this year.
Yes, he has.
So just putting that out there.
That's a painful statistic. That's a statistic.
3
I feel
games.
in
And
my
by the way,
soul.
don't you ever mention Teddy Bridgewater with me on the show ever again. That's all I'm going to say about that.
But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But do you think that Zach Wilson starts then?
I honestly think Robert Saleh, since he made that comment, has been watching nothing but film. I think he and Joe Douglas have been watching film, talking, dissecting. I'm going to be honest in saying I don't know. Like, I think right now there's a decent chance it could be any of the three of them. People pointed out Chris Streveler. He was really good in the preseason, but he did that against third string guys. He did that against guys that most of those guys aren't even on an NFL roster. How he would look against starters is different. So people have pointed him out. I don't think he's really an option, but between Joe, Mike, and Zach, I honestly think it could go any way right now. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Like, is there a
tell me what you
three-headed
guys think
coin?
of this. Tell me what you guys think about this. This is how I feel. I feel that Zach Wilson has the highest ceiling of the three.
Without a doubt.
Right?
Without question.
But
That's a fair
I
point.
also feel like he has the lowest floor of the three. I think Mike White and Joe Flacco both do better against the Patriots. Like, I don't think they sail balls the way Zach Wilson does, because he does it on a consistent basis.
Yeah, for sure.
So I feel like you have two extremes possible with Zach Wilson. But because of that, I feel like you start Zach Wilson. Not only because he's the second overall pick, because let's be real. Like, if he wasn't the second overall pick, he wouldn't be getting this many chances. Not only because of that, but because, like I said, he's played against top 5 pass defenses for the last couple of weeks. He's playing up against the Bears. They have a horrible defense.
Yep.
Like, if Mike White or Joe Flacco come and they play, there's a good chance that they light it up just because the Bears are so bad. And everybody's going to be like, oh, you see Zach Wilson, he's fucking trash. Well, maybe he would have played better if he would have played against a shitty defense. So I think you have to give him that chance. So I think you let Zach Wilson start against a bad defense, see how he does, and maybe he'll play well. I honestly think that if he starts, he's going to finally play well because it's a bad defense. Now, if he comes out and he plays like shit the first half, you yank him. But that's the only way I think somebody else gets on the field. If they let him play against the Bears, and against that Bears defense, he still can't produce at home, then I do think that he finally gets benched for either Joe Flacco or Mike White. But I think he starts the game.
Fair enough.
Danny, what's interesting is if you think about it, like, if you're just thinking about what you were just saying, if they do play him against the Bears, that's a defining moment almost for like the beginning of Zach Wilson's career. Because like you just said, I've been saying the same thing. He's been playing top defenses. I've been pointing out every week, like when we played the Bills, I was like, let's just all remember before the game starts, this is one of the best passing defenses in the NFL. Let's see what Zach does. He's had that. If he plays, I hope he plays well. But if he plays poorly against the Bears, that's a defining moment, because now he's sucking wind against a bad defense.
If he does that, I am officially out on Zach, because I'm still not officially out on him. Like, I still think he has the arm talent. I don't think he's very good, but I don't want to give up completely. Like, fuck it. But if he plays bad, like this bad against the Bears, I think it's done. Sam Darnold didn't play this bad, and Sam Darnold didn't have the weapons that Zach Wilson has. I saw a stat. They were lined up. I wish I would have brought it up. Let me pull it up 1 second. Zach Wilson versus Sam Darnold. Passer rating, Sam Darnold first 20 games, 78.9. Zach Wilson, 70.7. Completion percentage, Sam Darnold, 59.7. Zach Wilson, 55.6. Like, it's touchdowns to interceptions. Sam Darnold, 28 to 25. Zach Wilson, 13 to 16. All in the first 20 games
both
of their
those
career.
Statistics show that neither one of those guys are doing
right.
Right.
100%. But remember that Sam Darnold had a shitty offense around him with Adam Gase as his coach. So when you compare what they did the first 20 games and the fact that Sam Darnold played better with less talent around him, it's almost like, fuck. And I don't know, did you guys see Chris Sims today?
Yes.
He like broke down literally every drop back pass by Zach Wilson. Like, he must have been going like this afterwards. I don't understand why he's on Zach Wilson's jock as hard as he is. Because it's like, my guy, did you do that for Sam Darnold? Did you do that for Justin Fields? Like, why is he so obsessed with Zach Wilson?
But he's been hating
like shit.
He's been hating on Tua all season too, and that's why Dolphins Twitter comes after Chris Sims so often.
But like, I get it, and I appreciate it as a Jets fan. Like, he tries to give me some hope.
Right.
But like, my God, like, he literally broke down every single drop back pass. I'm like,
and you say made it look good.
He gave excuses as to, oh, look at the defense, there was nobody open, or this pressure coming, so he couldn't see this guy. And it's like, look, if you just pull up the passes that were just wide open or just the reads that he missed, like that alone is enough. Like
Danny,
he has to hit some of those.
Like I've been one of those people. You can look on Twitter. I won't deny it. Like I'm a huge Zach Wilson supporter. All those things I've been saying. I put out a dissertation a few weeks ago on why he could still be the guy. That being the case, there are no excuses for what happened Sunday. The offensive line was shit. The running game didn't exist. Yeah, there were guys in his face. It doesn't matter. What he did is inexcusable for any quarterback at the NFL level. Here's how bad it was when I was watching him play. Do you know what quarterback came to my mind?
Christian Hackenberg.
Marcus Russell.
Nathan Peterman. The guy that was what came to my mind watching him play. It was atrocious.
You know, it's funny because I thought Jamarcus Russell, just because everybody always made such a big deal about his arm. Like he could throw 60 yards from his knee. Like, oh, wow.
Just like Hackenberg, though. He can't hit water falling out of a
I was just about to say, Christian Hackenberg was who I thought of.
But like, what did he do with that arm strength? What does he do with that arm talent? If you can't do anything with it, what do I care? I don't care if you can throw the ball far.
So, Danny, you know that I've also been and I think we've literally beat down Zach Wilson for about 38.50 seconds of this show already.
I'm always the guy that builds him up, so that tells you everything.
But Danny knows that I've been a supporter of the talent that he has. I think that he does have all the arm talent. I think that he has the mobility that you're looking for in this new age of quarterback. But my biggest gripe has always been with Zach Wilson is once he gets it right up here. And here's my thing. Yes, he is young. I get it. All you young bucks protecting Zach Wilson because you're thinking the same way. This is a team full of grown-ass men who you're messing with their mortgages, their family wealth, and they're trying to win now. And if Zach Wilson's going to come out and give that type of attitude, you don't have the right guy in the house right now. Can he turn it around? For sure. We could be terribly wrong once the Jets and Dolphins get together at the end of the season. But right now, he's gone off the railings, and he's shown you I may never have it right in my head because I did the same shit 3 weeks ago. We said, it is all right. He had a bad game. He's gonna learn from this. 3 weeks later, he obviously did not learn from this. But I think we beat on him enough. But
actually, let me say one last thing, and it's not beating on him. It's just Bill Belichick does a great job against young quarterbacks.
For sure,
he's always
done that. Right.
Sam Darnold got they had him mic'd up for that Monday Night Football game where he said he was seeing ghosts.
Yes.
I feel like Zach Wilson might be going through some of the same, right? Because a lot of those, I think he was sailing them just because he saw so much pressure that he wasn't even setting his feet. And I don't know at what point his release became a sidearm. Like, I feel like he's throwing sidearm all the time now.
Well, he did that was the thing he did in college.
But constantly, like I didn't realize he did it
not
so
all the time.
often.
No, not all the time.
Right.
It was maybe
I feel like he's constantly throwing sidearm. So I feel like maybe he's seeing ghosts out there against Bill Belichick. Because look, if you look at the stats, the Patriots have like number 1 or 2 for QB pressures in the league. Like they were bringing the pressure, and offensive line, it just keeps getting injured. So I get that might have affected him. So that's why I want to see him play against the Bears. Right. My problem isn't so much it is how he played, but the accountability afters will really bug me.
Correct. Yeah.
So I feel like give him a chance against the Bears. Let's see what he can do in the first half. And if he's playing like shit, take him out. And at that point, you reevaluate.
But man, if you don't mind, like I don't mind, just quick, that without beating on Zach Wilson anymore. Kick him while he's down. Kick him while he's down. On the Bill Belichick thing, because I thought about this the other day and I realized I think I could be onto something here. He knows Zach Wilson inside and out. Like Zach has more interceptions against the Patriots than anybody. I realized, well, wait a minute. They drafted Mac Jones. That is the same draft class as Zach Wilson, which means Bill Belichick was probably studying Zach Wilson as well. And we know he's a great study. So I think he truly, and it looks like it, he knows what Zach does before he does it. He knows, like, this is the mistake he makes when you pressure him this way. When you do this, he tries to throw to this guy. I feel like he just knows him. And that is like a kryptonite right now to this kid.
I appreciate that. But listen, you guys are mostly comparing him to Sam Darnold. And like you said very well, Mr. Harrison Glazer, you said that was another quarterback that obviously didn't have it. So being that you guys are comparing to another New York Jets quarterback that obviously is no longer in town, if he's following down the same path as a Sam Darnold, that means you guys potentially have to start looking at a new quarterback. And he said, I get it, Danny. We're not going to talk about next season. But let's talk about a problem child, Danny. You talked about it, and you said that Justin Fields may not play this game because of the left. Right now, he's questionable. If it was doubtful, I would say, okay, maybe you don't get to play him. I think he will play this game. So,
okay, go ahead. I was going to tell you why I think he won't, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, my problem. Let's say if Justin Fields is on the field, the guy's been a problem, not just running the ball. We know he can run the ball. He has 834 yards for 7 touchdowns this season. I think 300 of those were on the Dolphins. Just throwing that out there as a tidbit. But he's also thrown for 13 touchdowns and 8 interceptions this season, right? So I get it. Not the best passer in the world, but he's definitely a problem. But even with the left dislocated shoulder that got put back in place, if he plays, is it going to be a problem for your defense?
Yeah, most definitely. We have a horrible time. We do a horrible job containing running quarterbacks.
Okay.
Like, it's just our linebackers outside of Quincy Williams, which isn't necessarily the fastest guy, but he's got a motor on him. They're not necessarily the fastest guys. CJ Mosley isn't fast. So I think that it could be a problem for sure, but I don't think he plays because the Bears have 3 wins this year? They're 3-7 or so.
They're 3-8.
So 3-8. Okay, so they're 3-8. So they're basically out of it, right? I think they understand that they're out of it, but they understand that they might have something with Justin Fields. You don't put Justin Fields out there, whose main source of production offensively is running the ball against a stout defense. So I think the smart move for the Bears would be to not put him out there against our defense and risk him getting injured more. So I really don't think that he's going to play. And I think we see, Trevor Siemian is their backup, I believe.
Yes.
So, and I did want to say one quick thing to what Harrison said a second ago.
Here we go.
About Bill Belichick studying up on Zach Wilson. In that draft class, Justin Fields was also a quarterback that was an option to draft. He might have studied Justin Fields just as hard. Justin Fields put 33 up on the Patriots, and they blew out the Patriots. So
I get it, but that was Harrison trying to, still kind of like cheerlead for his boy. So I get why he did it. I'm glad you called him out. You're the Jets fan, not me. But Harrison, based off of what you've seen from Justin Fields up until this point, if he is a starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears this Sunday, how confident are you feeling coming into this game?
So you're saying if it's Fields or not Fields?
If it is Fields.
If it is Fields, I mean, he's been good. A lot of people like to backtrack their takes. I firmly wanted Wilson. I never wanted Fields. I just felt that, and I could be wrong, but watching him at Ohio State, that argument they made for Zach Wilson of the competition, I thought it actually worked against guys like Justin Fields because he's playing same thing with Trevor Lawrence with an all-star team around him. He's got great players around him in a fantastic system that works with or without him. Ohio State is top of the league with Justin Fields or without Justin Fields.
Fair enough.
BYU is not. That was why I was like, I don't get this take. This doesn't make sense to me. But with Justin Fields, he is playing well. I mean, but here's an interesting statistic. Passing yards, he's doing well. But with rushing yards, he's one of the best in the league. He's actually 7th in the entire league. Same with his rushing touchdowns. So he's a good passer, but he relies on running it.
For sure.
Our pass rush, the best word I've been using to describe them, relentless. We have a relentless pass rush. They consistently get after the quarterback, and they keep getting after the quarterback. And at the beginning of the season, we thought the rotation wasn't the best thing because it wasn't working. It wasn't, not everyone, they weren't getting a lot of sacks. But lately, everyone's feasting. Like literally everyone. Like even guys like Curry and Nathan Shepard. Everybody's feasting on that D-line. So, man, if they can get after Justin Fields and they can prevent him from running, that's the biggest key in my mind. That's the biggest key to winning this game because we know the defense is going to show up and we don't 100% know who the quarterback's going to be. So that kind of changes the outlook of the offense. It's like a question mark right now. But I feel like the big thing is containing Fields within the run. If that pass rush can get on him and not let him run the ball, that will change the dynamic of the game.
Can I shine some light to piggyback off of what you just said? One of the consistent things, Danny, about your defense is the fact that you guys don't have to blitz. You don't have to blitz because you get all the pressure in the world. You're front four. I feel like this game you may have to blitz if it's Justin Fields, because if you give him even a split second to think about running, and like you said, your linebackers aren't fast enough to get after him, I think that you have to clog up as many lanes to get to Justin Fields. That guy, I saw him firsthand, is a freaking problem. Like, even the smallest window that he could take off in, he's going to take off, and he's going to get a good chunk play out of you. And if you continuously do that throughout the game, your defense is going to get worn out. And now you have to rely on Zach Wilson potentially putting some points on the board up for you. But I'm just saying, if it is Justin Fields, I feel a whole lot worse about your chances than if it's Trevor Siemian at quarterback.
No, and like I was saying, if it's Justin Fields, like Josh Allen, the little production he had in that game was when he was rushing with his legs. Yep. He scored those 2 rushing touchdowns. Like that's how those running quarterbacks get us, because we're just not fast enough on the linebackers, and we don't keep containment. We don't. It's like they're undisciplined when they're rushing, and I do think that that's going to be a problem. But again, I don't think he's going to play, just because I don't think it's the smart play. When you're out of the playoffs already and you think you have something special, why risk really messing up his shoulder? Okay. So I don't think, but if he does play, yes, I do think that's going to be an issue. And Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson's going to have to put up some points.
All right. Well, then I'm going to give you a caveat. I'm going to give you a caveat right now. I'll give both of you the opportunity to predict this game as it's time to go for the Battle Jet Turn prediction time. Give me both your predictions, Harrison, and I'll start with you. Give me both your prediction. Give me one if it's versus Justin Fields, and give me one versus Trevor Siemian, what you think the score is going to be for both of these teams.
I mean, what's crazy is it's like it's almost impossible to predict, because not just like you just said, both of you guys, we don't know who their quarterback's going to be, or we don't actually necessarily know who our quarterback is going to be. So it's like, how are we going to do against Fields or Siemian? Well, how are we going to do with either Wilson, Flacco, or Mike White? Like, it's like
so you got
there's so many there's so many balls in the air. Like it's impossible to figure out. Like, all I can come at it is like, well, if it is Fields, that's how you're going to stop him. Like, that's how it is. If it's Siemian, really same thing. I mean, our cornerbacks are great in coverage. We have the best 100%. Corners in the game, in my opinion. We have the stickiest coverage you can put. I mean, Sauce has proven himself to already be easily the best corner in the game, and DJ Reed's top 5, and Michael Carter is like top 15. So it's amazing. Our guys are great.
I think Michael Carter might be the best nickel in the league.
He might be. So Trevor Siemian, he can't run. So I don't really worry about him as much, because he ain't gonna be able to really throw. But with us, whoever our quarterback's gonna be, let's say it's Flacco.
Okay.
The Bears are gonna get after him. Like, and he is a statue. He can't move. Like, he can't move. Like, you might as well, like, just wrap him in pads and just protect him a little more, because he's not going anywhere. Like, he can't run. And if it's Mike White, he has shown the ability to move, but he's not mobile like Zach. So there's so many moving parts in the air, but I honestly feel if we're going to win this game, like the Patriot game, our defense has to bring it, and it has to stay low scoring. So if we're going to win, it's going to be something like, I hate to say it, but like at worst 10-3, maybe like 17-14, something like that. But if we're going to win, it's got to be low scoring, I think.
Danny, I'll go first because I like leaving you for last year. If Zach Wilson plays this game versus Justin Fields, and I feel like you may use this against me later on, but you know what? Honestly, I don't care. I feel your defense is strong enough to keep you in the game for 4 quarters, as you've seen them do throughout the season so far. But I honestly think Justin Fields would be too much for you, even on half a left arm. Just for the simple reason that he'll get those chunk plays against anybody, I feel. If it is Trevor Siemian, he may be a better passer than Justin Fields, but at the end of the day, your defense can lock that down. So I would feel more confident picking this game if it was Trevor Siemian and say the Jets were going to win. I'm going to go off the notion that it's Justin Fields, and I say you guys lose this game 16-10. I'm going to go 16-10. You guys lose the game if Justin Fields play. If it's Trevor Siemian, I feel more confident, and I would say that you guys probably flip that and probably win like 13-10, just for the simple reason that I have so much more faith in your defense than I have to do with any of your quarterbacks. But if it is Zach Wilson, whether he plays bad in the first half, as you mentioned earlier in the show, I don't know, bro. I consider Justin Fields to be a problem. Like, I didn't think he was going to be a problem before, but he's getting nicer. He's getting nicer week to week, and he's growing in that system. But that's just my 2 cents. I'll let you take it away. If it's Justin Fields, I consider the Jets getting an L this week.
If Trevor Siemian starts, we're gonna shut them out
For sure.
They're not scoring on us.
Yeah.
I think that they don't score on us. If it's
I
Trevor
feel the same
Siemian,
way.
it's 0 points. We could have shut down the Patriots last week. The
Which
defense
you did.
every week
Which
gets
you
to
did.
another level.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they missed a couple field goals, but I think that the Bears, they don't have many offensive weapons. It's Justin Fields' legs. Once you take that away, that's probably one of the worst offenses in the last couple of years. Like, they're not good. They are dead last in passing yards. Like, they're not a good offense. So I honestly believe that if Trevor Siemian starts, unless it's like a pick six or something, I don't think. Okay, let me take that back. They're not going to score offensively if Trevor Siemian starts.
There you go.
That's if it's Justin Fields, I think with his legs he'll do some damage. I think they'll put up some points, but this game is Zach Wilson. He's gonna start. I really do believe that. I think he's gonna start, and I think he's gonna play well. He's gonna play well, and I think that they'll put up 20-something points, 23, 24 points. I really do believe that. And if it's Justin Fields, I think we can keep him to 14, 17 points. I think we'll win. I think it might even be comfortable. I think it won't even it'll be within a touchdown, but at no point are you like, oh fuck, we might lose. Like, I think we'll win comfortably. If we do not win this game, we do not make the playoffs. I really believe that, because we have to go to Minnesota, we have to go to Buffalo, we have to go to Seattle, and then we have to go to Miami. Like, I know we're road warriors so far this year, but
That's a tough road.
That's a tough road. Okay, so you have to win the home games. And what are the home games left? You have Chicago and you have Detroit. And I'm missing one. I can't remember what the last one is. But I'm missing one. What's the last one? Or Jacksonville and the Lions. I'm sorry, we got to beat the Lions. So this is, to me, it's a must-win if we want to make the playoffs. I think it's a must-win. And I know mathematically somebody's listening and they're like, but it's not. Fuck you. It is. It is. I understand mathematically it's not. But I'm sorry, it is. If you lose these 2 games in a row, all of a sudden the locker room fucking implodes. We don't know who the quarterback is in the next couple of weeks, and shit just goes bad. Okay? That's just what it is. I'm a battered fan. That's how I feel. Fuck you. So that's my prediction. And but yeah, I think that we win, and no matter who the quarterback is for the Bears, and I do think Zach Wilson starts.
Yeah, okay. But Danny, just to take that and flip that for a second, because you said you think Zach Wilson will play and play well. If he plays really well, that's going to, again, everyone's going to be like, this kid can totally be the guy.
Correct.
He's not that. And that's just because, like we said, he's a young kid. He's a developing quarterback in the league. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. So if he plays well, that's the point. He's a young kid playing quarterback.
But hypothetically, let's say Mike White comes out and Mike White plays well, because he's playing such a bad defense. And then they play Minnesota after. Minnesota has the 31st ranked pass defense, another bad passing defense. And then you play the Bills, who have kind of taken a nosedive defensively. Right now they're ranked 19th as far as pass.
They were like first in the league at one point.
Right. For the first 5-6 weeks of the season. Right.
Yeah. And now they're 19th. And then after that, they have Detroit, 28th pass defense. So those are the next 4 games. So if they start Mike White, everybody's going to be like, oh, you see? Zach Wilson's a piece of shit. Look at Mike White. Look what he's doing. Also, Mike White got lucky. He didn't play any of the tough defenses. Now he's playing against the soft defense, right? So I think that because of that, you have to give Zach that chance. Let him have at least a half against one of these shitty defenses to see if he can do it. If he can't, then fuck it. Then let's go with Mike White. But you have to give him that chance, because Mike White might come and he might play well. But Zach Wilson maybe might have played well also, because, again, these defenses aren't bad. Remember, we played the Dolphins the last game of the year. The Dolphins fucking suck. So we have a chance. If they don't suck. Their defense sucks, but they don't suck overall. So we have a chance. We have to give Zach Wilson that chance, I think. So I feel like that's why they need to. I appreciate what Rob Saleh did in putting it out there and say, I'm not committing, because that's almost like, look, Zach, we're not fucking coddling you. I'm not committing to you anymore.
Right.
You have to play well. and you have to start taking accountability. And I like that he did that, not because he's going to bench him, because I really don't believe he's going to bench him, but he let him know this is an option. You might get benched if you keep playing like crap or if you start being an ass in the locker room. And he let the team also know that. So I appreciate what he did. I think that was the purpose of that, but I do think he starts anyway. But it's a short lease if you play like crap against the Bears.
Fair enough.
I think that's a really good point, actually. Like you just said, I knew, most of those teams but that's a good point. A lot of them have really bad defenses, specifically pass defenses.
I didn't look at defense overall.
Yeah, specifically pass defenses. That's a really good point. That definitely opens to even the point where if Zach Wilson plays well, people are going to be like, well, he did that against bad defenses.
The two-sided coin.
I was going to say, are we
could go all day on that.
Damned if we do, damned if we don't at this point?
That's exactly the situation. But listen, you guys are favored right now in this game by 70% to 30%. I feel like even the experts feel pretty confident that even with Zach Wilson struggling, you should win this game.
That defense,
you should win this game. So
Zach Wilson hasn't really won us any games this year, but he's lost us some.
Yeah. And before you lead us out, I've taken enough of your bullshit over the last few weeks trashing my team. That's why I'm going to take a bye week next week. You guys won't have to put up with the bearded fanatic next week. But Danny, you got anything special lined up for next week?
Not yet. I thought you were about to tell me that the Dolphins are all of a sudden a good defensive team, and you didn't tell me the rankings. That's what I was waiting for. Let me wait for this. See, like bullshit he's about to throw my way.
No, not at all.
Okay. All right. No, nothing yet. I'm gonna see what I cook up. Replacing the bearded fanatic shouldn't be too difficult. So
wow.
I'm joking. I love you, Manny.
Listen, man,
I couldn't do this without Manny.
I can record from the boat if you want, man. I can record from the boat. I'll find a good spot.
You get Wi-Fi over there.
It'll be the worst Wi-Fi in the world, but I'm sure we can figure it out.
Well, Harrison, anything you want to plug before we sign off?
Yes, sir.
All you guys out there, I would absolutely love if you could find me on my YouTube channel. If you could subscribe, it'd be greatly appreciated. It's the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. I do a live show Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a freaking awesome time. A lot of people on live. We chat it up. Guys ask questions, talk about a lot of great stuff. Please tune in. Please be there. I also put content out throughout the week. You can find me on Twitter as well at NYJetsTF Media.
I like that. And by the way, one final note that we do appreciate that you take time out of your day, especially to come support the Battered Jets fans podcast.
Of course. It's been an absolute pleasure to be on here, man. And anytime you guys want me back, just let me know.
We're glad to hear that. I'm sure we'll hold you to it. But I had to get this one special shout out to Italy because he's always a big supporter. New Year's Situation Report. My homie Michelle, she's a big fan of the show as well. She hasn't missed one episode yet. But Danny, lead us out on episode 12, man. Another one comes to close.
Thank you, Harrison, for joining us. But I did want to leave you with one quick question. We always ask 2 questions. I'm going to ask 3 questions real quick. All right?
Go for it. Let's do it.
Favorite Jet player all time, favorite Jet memory of all time. And after that, I'll ask you a 3rd question.
So favorite player is tough, man. People have asked me that before. It's a tough one. I mean, growing up, I was a huge Chad Pennington fan. Like, I firmly believe that if that dude hadn't torn his shoulder even twice, he could have been amazing. I watched that. I was actually at the game with my dad when he came in for an injured Testaverde. We didn't know who he was. We knew he was a 1st-round pick, but we didn't know much about him. He comes in, unbelievable. When he had arm strength, I remember turning to my dad. I'm like, this guy's going to win a Super Bowl. And I truly believe he would have. Easily the most accurate quarterback to ever play in this game. So
awesome.
Probably would say Chad Pennington. And memories, just going to games when I was a kid with my dad. Like I always talk to, I always, tell people, going to games and stuff. Like there's so many games I went to as a kid. You don't remember every play. You don't remember, every game that it was, but you remember going with your dad. I remember going with my grandpa. I remember the stuff we talked about. I remember the barbecues we had. I remember throwing the football around. Grandpa's not with us anymore, but I think about those memories. So I feel like football is so much more important for the memories that we create. It's a family sport.
For sure. And then the last question. If I told you that it's possible to trade Zach Wilson tomorrow for Geno Smith, do you do it?
For Geno, no. I know you're going to hate me for this, but for Lamar Jackson, you've got my attention.
I mean, Lamar Jackson's an MVP. I said Geno Smith because he was one of us before.
No, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't trade him for Geno Smith.
I would take Geno Smith running this team for the rest of this season. I don't even care if he leaves us after the season. Having him under center for the rest of these 7 games and possibly the playoffs, I would do that. I would do it because I think for the short term, he would be a better answer. Well, thank you again, Harrison, for joining us. Manny, for being my co-host as usual and being nicer than I am usually. And thank you guys for tuning in to episode 12 of the Battered Fans. I guess I don't know who's going to be here next week. We'll find out together, I guess. All right. Have a great one.
Fins up.
Oh.